You cannot pour great latte art without getting the basics right first. Today I'm going to lay out the basic requirements for pouring latte art, how to set the base, and how to pour the fundamental pattern used in all latte art, the monk's head. What is latte art? Latte art is the result of mixing milk foam with coffee to create a brown canvas and then gliding white foam over the top to draw a design. And there are three things you need to begin pouring great latte art. Those are number 1, full fat milk, number 2, good milk texture, and number 3, a rich crema. While you can steam semi-skimmed milk and pour with it, it's not as good as full fat milk because it's easier to texture, which is super important for latte art. Because if your milk is too thin, your design won't hold its shape and it will be difficult to pour. And if your milk is too thick, it just won't glide across the espresso. It'll be harder to pour. And this leads us on to crema. You want a rich crema, not only because it will provide more stability in your pour, preventing the milk from just going wherever it wants to go, but also because it will increase the contrast between the white and brown parts of your design. If you want to learn how to achieve the right milk texture, I recommend that you stop here, watch my videos on how to do that. I'll leave links in the description, and then come back once you've watched them. But don't worry if your milk texture or crema isn't 100% perfect, because it's all influenced by your machine type, your coffee freshness, and your technique. If you've got those down, then we can begin talking about grips. You have to hold your cup and pitcher a certain way. To hold the cup, you hold it in your non-dominant hand, and there are a few ways to hold the cup. The first and most comfortable way, in my opinion, is in the palm like this. It's the most stable for me. It just feels nice. Another is with the fingers like this. I'm not a huge fan of it personally because it's not as stable as just having it in the palm. And the final way is with the handle like this. Really, this is more of a coffee shop thing, time-saving thing. Instead of faffing around with getting the cup in the right position to pour latte art, you just pick the cup up by the handle, pour your design, and then you can put it straight back down again. So give each grip a try, pick which one feels the most natural and most stable. And then you've got the pitcher. To hold this, you want it to be stable in the hand, but you also want some leeway, some looseness. You don't want to be death gripping the thing. And the first way to grip it is the pinch grip, my favorite. So you take your index finger and your thumb, you pinch the top, you wrap your fingers around the handle, and that's the pinch grip. It's sort of like holding a pencil almost. And that's why I like it, because it allows me to pour designs with a bit more precision compared to the other grips that we'll talk about. The next grip is the V grip. This is similar to the pinch grip, but it's in a V shape like this. You're holding the pitcher itself instead of the handle. So it looks like that. The next grip is the palm grip, and this is especially good for people with big hands. There are two variations of this. The first variation being over the handle, like this, and the second variation behind the handle, like that. And then the last grip, and in my opinion the worst, which is why it's the last, the L grip. This puts your thumb on the top of the handle, and unlike all of the other grips where your arm is in line with the pitcher, it puts your hand, your arm on the opposite side, on the side of the pitcher, and it's just awkward to pour like this. So I don't like it, but we all get on with different grips, and the best way to find the grip that works for you is to just practice. So put some water in your jug, Pick up your cup, give the cup a feel, see which grips work best, try out different pitcher grips, and just see which one feels the most stable, the most precise. Pick one that feels the best, and then stick with that. Now you know which grip works for you, let's talk about positioning, because this isn't spoken about enough. You should hold your cup and pitcher to the center of your body. Not too high, not too low, not extending out like this. You're not super closed in and tense. Unlike some people you see on the internet, they're pouring latte art like this with the cup practically in their face. So you should be in a natural and steady position. The goal of pouring latte art is to get the spout as close to the liquid as possible to allow foam to glide across easily. Not in the liquid, just close to the surface. And to achieve this, you tilt the cup so that the base is in line with the rim. And this allows you to get the pitcher right up against the surface of the espresso. And to make it even easier, I recommend that you lift your elbow as you pour. I see some people on the internet pouring with bent elbows like this, and for a long time I poured my latte art like that, and I didn't realise how difficult I was making my life by pouring like this. It's just an awkward position. You're putting strain on your wrist, and it makes it difficult to get that full range of motion to properly tilt the pitcher. So lift up your elbow, that gives you the proper movement needed to pour latte art. Now that we're in position, let's talk about flow rate and technique. I don't want to complicate flow rate or go too in depth, so I'll just say this. You have slow, medium and fast flow rates. Slow flow rate is your pencil thin stream. Medium flow rate is your normal pouring speed. And then a high flow rate would be to really push that liquid out. The most important thing to keep in mind when pouring latte art is to not overthink things. Don't overthink the pour. You might be tempted to go really slow and focus on the technique, but if you go too slow, that might stagnate your design, because the longer you take, 10, 20, 30 seconds, the more the foam separates from the milk and the harder it becomes to pour. There are 3 steps to pouring latte art. Step 1 is setting the canvas. This is the base of your design, the brown bit. And to set it, you gently swirl the espresso to make it all one even colour. You pour a little bit of milk from a height with normal pouring speed. You swirl again, and then you fill the cup to the rim, making sure your cup is tilted with little movement. I don't want to see any of this massive circles and side to side movements. Sure, you can do a little bit and it helps with integrating the milk, but if you do too much of it or you get too close to the espresso, what can happen is you can get these streaks of white on your base, and those are called snail trails, and it just ruins the contrast of the canvas. So keep to a height and don't move about too much. Step 2 is pouring your design. When pouring, aim for above the center of the liquid towards the rim of the cup. And as you pour, you push the milk out towards the back of the cup, letting it glide. It's sort of like ice skating. If you think you're on an ice rink and you push a friend into the center of the ice rink, you give them that push, that momentum that allows them to glide across the ice. And that's a similar thing to what's happening here. You're pushing the milk into the back of the cup across the espresso, and it glides across. So as you come in for the pour, You make contact with the cup, you glide the milk to the back, and as the milk rises, as the liquid in the cup rises, you tilt the cup back on its axis, not moving it, just tilting. And this is a combined motion of pitcher pushing and tilting. So it would look a little bit like that. And you should practice this motion, get used to doing the same, doing these two things at the same time. So put some water into your pitcher and just practice that motion, practice setting the canvas. Step number 3 is cutting through your design. So once you've poured as many layers as you want, you slow your flow rate right down. So you're pouring, you get to your final layer or whatever, you slow your flow rate, you raise the pitcher, and then you cut through, sinking some of the foam to create a separation. Once you're familiar with those techniques, we can put everything into practice and finally pour some art. I'm going to show you how to pour 2 designs, the first being the monk's head, like I said earlier, which is the base of all designs, and then the heart, which is just the monk's head, but with the cut through added at the end to create the tail and separation down the middle. So the monk's head, the easiest design. All you have to do to pour the monk's head is place your pour above the center towards the rim of the cup, and then you don't move. You're just tipping the pitcher and pouring the milk into the cup. And what that does is it creates a dot, and that's your monk's head. So we'll go through it together. So you swirl the espresso to make it all one color. Pour a little bit of milk from a height. Swirl that. Fill up to the rim of the cup from a height. Then you come down close and you just hold the pitcher there. You keep pouring at a medium to high flow rate, and that's how you pour the monk's head. So you just stop there. You don't cut through, you just stop. As you can see, it's just one dot right in the center, and there's a very even background. That's because there's no white lines. We correctly integrated the milk without making any white snail trails. And it works the exact same way for the heart. So this is the heart. So you swirl the espresso, get it all one color. You pour a little bit of milk into the espresso, swirl it again, pour it from a height, fill up to the rim. Then you come down, you pour, you keep pouring, and you lift up and cut through. And that creates the tail and the split down the middle. And as you can see on this one, even background, nice color. The heart could be a little bit more centered, but it's okay. And that's how you pour the monk's head and the heart. If you try these designs after practicing everything in this video and you find you're still struggling, that's okay. Because learning how to pour latte art and steam milk is all about muscle memory. 3 years ago, I was experiencing the exact same problem, and to be honest, it took me way longer than it should have to learn how to pour latte art. But through repetition and correction of my mistakes, I was able to build a feel for it. When you get good at latte art, you realise that there's almost a spiritual aspect to it of just letting the milk flow out, really feeling the milk and espresso come together and the foam gliding across the top. So keep practicing, and that's all for today's video. If you feel this has helped you understand latte art and pour better designs, or you have some questions and need help with things, then let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to help. And if you liked this video and want to see similar content in the future, subscribe, turn on notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you again soon.